এই স্ক্রিনটাকে কেমন হচ্ছে? ପିଲା ଆସନ୍ତୁ ନ ଆସନ୍ତୁ ଆପଣ ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କରନ୍ତୁ। ୟୁଟ୍ୟୁବରେ କିଏ ଆସୁଛି ନ ଆସୁଛି ଆମେ ତାକୁ କାହିଁକି ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ କରାଉଛି?
A warm welcome to all the participants. This is PG Department of Biosciences and Biotechnology, Fakir Mohan University, inviting all the participants and speakers to the international conference cum webinar on research frontiers and prospects in bio
However, however, uh, four words can able to handle the situation very nicely. Those words are like shutdown, lockdown, and containment zone and buffer zone, etc. So these four words are very much associated with sociological as well as political and economical development of a nation or of the world. So hence my point is we should not give only focus on the development of science and technology, but at the same time we give focus on the development of sociological, economical, and political domain, so that we can effectively tackle the pandemic. Because it is very difficult to predict what sorts of pandemic will uh, uh, will be or will come in the future days. So, you see, in this context, one more thing, the scientists of uh, biotechnology and biosciences should think. Um, I mean, in this context means COVID-19 context. You see, many firms are nowadays very much engaged to develop vaccine, and they are to some extent they are uh, they they got success, and we are expecting shortly they will launch the vaccine. I mean, the India government is predicting in the month of November probably we will get vaccine. But how safe that vaccine we need to judge, even though they are testing in different phases. But we must know the reliability of that vaccination as well as safety of that. I mean, how safe that vaccine, and also the testing kit. Testing kit, I have a big doubt on the testing kit. How reliable that testing kit? You say two things are associated with the testing kit, like of course the testing kit should be I mean very accurate as well as maximize the specificity as well as sensitivity, and uh, the testing kit must minimize the false positive as well as false negative. Otherwise, what will happen, you know better than me. For example, very recently we got news from the OTV news that one man is claiming. Uh, uh, when he tested, I mean COVID-19. I mean when he undergoes the COVID-19 testing, uh, he has been notified that he got positive. But after but after his doubt, and he again goes to a private hospital, and then he got the signal of negative. You see, if somebody is getting the signal positive, but he was actually negative, then what will happen in this situation? And vice versa, if somebody is um, uh, really positive but getting the negative, then what will happen to the situation? Therefore, the scientists must ensure, they should minimize these two things, I mean, false positive as well as false negative. These two things are very vital uh, for the survival of the society. And that is one aspect. And another one, maybe very general, I mean, Of course, this point I am highlighting to the participants who are not the family members of Fakir Mohan University. You see, Fakir Mohan University is trying a lot, even though COVID-19 is spreading across the world, but COVID-19 could not stop us to organize the events like seminar conferences. We are organizing the same conferences, the same seminar in the form of webinar, and we are trying to gain knowledge. That is the objective of seminar or conferences. And of course, the Fakir Mohan University is constantly organizing many webinars, and in the forthcoming days, we will organize
regarding the history and the activities what we are conducting in our department. So please, Bharat, uh, how so the department was established in 2004 as a regular fast biotechnology bioscience department of state government of Odisha, and with a strength of 32 students. And subsequently, we are continuing our courses like MSc Biotechnology, MPhil Bioscience, MPhil Biotechnology, PhD Biotechnology, PhD Botany, PhD Zoology, and we run for some time our MTech in Biotechnology course, which we suspended due to the lack of staff at that moment. But right now, we are following the guidelines of UGC for the courses and the DBT for the Government of India Department of Biotechnology guidelines. This time we had a lot of visitors, scholars of eminent Professor M.C. Das, Vice Chancellor, Sambalpur University, Rebecca Nair, Dr. Ravindran ILS, Dr. Professor Amindranath Misra from Palikot University, Vikas Patna, USA, Goa, Anil Chatterjee, Nivedita Lenka from NCS Pune, and Devendranath Pati from Baylor College, USA, Abhijit Chakravarti from Sahil to Nuclear Physics, Bimal Prasad Mahanti from Central Institute of Package Kolkata, Basant Das from Sipa Bhubaneswar, Satya Hriday from IIT Kharagpur, Professor Sushil Datta from ISC Bangalore. Likewise, if list I cannot go on detail, but a lot of dignitaries of international eminent, they have visited this department, they are blessed with all the scholar activities, they have interacted with our students also time to time. And we have already got around 1.5 crores from the extramural funding from different sources, besides the fund we got from our own university or from the state government. So we run around 6 external projects so far, and the department is supported by the DST Government of India with 35 lakhs as a DST first level grant, and Department of Biotechnology bioinformatics facility also we are running since 2007 till today. So in that situation, we have already got the fund of around 35 lakhs from the DBT Government of India. So research facility, almost starting from the small instrument to the high-end different types of instruments, we are all having by the help of the funds we got from the DST and DBT as well as from our own. We have conducted several national and international conferences. Almost every alternate year, we are having these national conferences, and a lot of dignitaries from different institutes they have visited and they have interacted with our students. We have conducted workshops also time to time from the Department of Biotechnology, Bioinformatics, workshop for students and the teachers of our affiliated colleges, and we got scholars and from different parts of the country as a resource person for that also. And these are the few glimpses what recently we have conducted the national seminar during the 5th and 6th February 2020, and it has been attended by, inaugurated by Dr. Basant Kumar Das from Kolkata, and it is graced by our Vice Chancellor and Sushil Datta, Professor Sushil Datta was there as the JDSI in collaboration with the JDSI Odisha. We conducted that conference, and these are our some of the alumni. This is not the limited slides I am showing because of the scarcity of time. You can see our alumni are there everywhere in the globe, starting from USA to different types of Malaysia. Manoj Kumar Naik, postdoctoral fellow now in the University of Iowa, USA. Pratyush Kumar Das, after completing PhD from Estonia and Helsinki postdoc, now in the USA. And Joyce Jana also in the USA. Chitralekha Mohanty in Sweden, Karolinska Institute. Sanjita Das, after completing PhD from ISC Bangalore, now she is a postdoc in Harvard University. Lakwinder Das, University of Tennessee Health Sciences Center, USA. Alok Kumar Das, Assistant Professor, Central Institute Tripura, now is in Ramadevi University, and Siddharth Pote, who is now a postdoctoral fellow in University of Telangana, Malaysia. Then Jayshankar Das, who is a Director of Research in Soya University, Bhubaneswar. So only Atulya Kumar Nando is in the Biocon, Bangalore. Diganando De in Bahrain, Devasis Mohanty in Kolkata, Thermo Fisher, Chinmay Parida. That's studying from the different research organizations, different universities, different our entrepreneurs. Everywhere our students are there, and they are giving proud, and they are the pride moment for us. And so far, almost more than 30 students have been awarded with PhD. More than 40 students have got the MPhil so far. And we are having laboratories, facility for MSc teaching, for research scholars. And we have microbiology lab, computer lab, 2 labs, and all this. And 10 to 15 students have got NET, GET, and other. And like the National Fellowship for Tribals and our Viju Patnaik Fellowship from state government. So around 15 20 students are getting fellowship from different organizations, and recently one CSR fellow have joined in this department as a junior research fellow also. We have the scientific collaboration with almost everywhere. You can see from the USA to Malaysia, from Kolkata, Dehradun, Wildlife Institute, Sekri Kolkata, ILS, IMMT. Not only we are confined to our collaboration to the state, we are also expanding our horizon to different parts of the globe. And in near future also, we will have joining with us the Korea and other part of the Asian countries and global European and American different types of organization also. This is something in a note regarding our activities, and we hope this platform will give the wide coverage, and we will be supported by all of you. We need your blessings, we need your support, and with the help of our authority, we will proceed for the next program, and we hope. And this particular research frontiers and prospects in bioscience and biotechnology. So as a overall in the biological domain, we are going to having some activities, and we need support from all the organizations, and we must thank all the organizations who have already supported us during this course of our process of development. Thank you all, and thank you all for joining us for this international conference. All the best.
Thank you, Professor Das. Indeed, the department has many credible features, and we would like to add to it the international conference which we are organizing also is an added feature to Fakir Mohan University. Now we are going to start the presentations, and especially for the participants, there are certain instructions. As we had a lot of participants from across India and also few participants from outside India, we have YouTube live going on for the participants. Now in that case, the questions which they would ask to the invited speakers should come through the chat box, the YouTube chat box. The questions will be put forward by us to the speakers. So you should always mute yourself, and number 2, you should always give your questions through the YouTube chat box. So
Okay. Welcome you, sir.
सर कल सर अनम्यूट करो अपना असेल
ओके ओके
थैंक यू सर
Subhasri Malik is presenting. Hello.
yes sir it is audible
Hello.
yes sir
Is there any problem? It's problem or?
no problem sir audible
So my presentation start.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Shall I start presenting? Window.
ऑलरेडी कुछ शेयर करके बैठे हैं सर सोशल मीडिया
yes sir Subhash sir start करो तो
Oh, Subhasri is sharing screen and you just
share the
tell her
slide.
Huh? मैं I am just sharing.
Subhash
this
मैडम
slide.
सारे का स्लाइड टा शेयर करो ऐसा कब
नहीं वो just withdraw करने से I can start sharing. Okay.
प्रेजेंट स्क्रीन शेयर कर दियो तो बस आप सुबह से कम सर
सर आपनकर गूगल मीट रे जो अच्छी प्रेजेंट स्क्रीन हां आसीगला एबे पीपीटी टा फुल स्क्रीन कर देले आसीबो
Just doing. Okay, now it is
Yes, sir.
visible.
Yes, sir. It is visible now. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So, esteemed Vice Chancellor of the University, Madam Anumita Das, and your Chairman PG Council, Professor Vishnu Babu, and we have Bhaskar Behra Babu and Guru Saab, all the esteemed delegates and participants. At the outset, I thank the organizer to giving the opportunity for delivering it. Today, I am not giving anything related to fish or microbiology. This is a total environment, day-to-day life issues, and giving a sensitization and awareness to all my esteemed uh, delegates, including participants, about how we are suffering with the current arena under the plastics and the microplastics. How it is reached to the oceans and lot of program is going on. If you see how day-to-day life, first picture is how day-to-day life we are so much infused with the microplastics and its things. In health aspect, without plastics we are difficult, and other sense where is the disposable phenomena. If we see everything goes to the ocean or estuaries through the main river systems or any of the transportation medium. Again, if we'll go to again from there, it has a different degradation process. Other things will come at later, and finally, it is through the different food chain systems. It may go to the fish in the aquatic animal vertebrates, or it can go to the maybe your cow, buffalo, other things. The grazing community finally may go to the human being, and the total environment how it will be contaminating. So with this background, if you'll see, just I told where the plastics. Everywhere you have everything starting from a baby is with a plastic straw or spoon or utensils or stirrers, whatever. A baby started utilizing the plastics to the adult forms also. Again, in the aquaculture or fisheries or agricultures, you find also starting from greenhouse, nets, or anywhere you do, it will be a pool of plastics. Then how you can have that instance? Again, what is the scale of plastic problems in India, if you see? And the scale of plastic problem in India, it is a industry means 2000 exporters, India from exporting 2000. Again, what is the employment? Maybe 4 million peoples and 30,000 units across the India. And it's a growth of plastic growth is 17% from, if you see 17 to 18, it is the growth rate. And India planning for 18 plastic parks and investing 6.2 million US dollars. Then if we'll see what is bothering, that is mostly a single-use plastic is bothering us. That is 43% of the manufactured plastics used for packaging is a single-use plastics. And annual per capita consumption is 20 kg per individual by 2002. And if you see what more tons it is coming, 17-18 data is 6,60,787 tons of plastics being used. It is a report by Central Pollution Control Board. Again, if you see major rivers in across the globe, 10 rivers that drains over 90% of plastic debris into this lake. Again, India, there are 3 main rivers. If you see, Indus is the second plastics rich, then Ganga and Brahmaputra also. So these are, so if your plastic is infusion, can you say no to plastic today? No. We can say yes to plastic, but no to pollutions. Means we have to make certain awareness, other things. It should not cause the pollutions to the systems. Again, if you look into the if we see what are the programs, lot of programs in Ministry of Environment and Forest, other things. So marine litters in microplastics, maybe NEP project programs with NP, National Productive Councils, Japanese government, so many governments are coming and funding. So there are 6 areas. First is WP1, that is source, phytoplastics, quantifications and modeling. Then WP areas, that is impact of plastic pollutions on marine ecosystems. WP, that is microplastics on health and toxicity and how it go for the food chain. Then WP4 is social and behavioral changes and awareness is campaigning. Then what is the design and testing interventions, redesigning of the single-use plastics. So there are 6 programs is run in Government of India. Then what are the research aims and address to the challenges? It is what is the pattern behavior of plastics, resource to sink, it is the need of the hours, quantifying the marine litters and microplastics, how it is going, how it is going from these things. Again, ecological impact of microplastics, what is happening to the ecology, other things, and whether these complications. Then finally, you have to create awareness because India is a large country and below poverty line, so many peoples, they use cheap cost materials for the marriage and other things, and they do not have the safe disposals. Again, if you go for picnics and other things, we only dump in the picnic site and lot of the plastic materials. So therefore, creating awareness, data monitoring, management and mitigation measures is the one of the. Then marine litter policies, because everything drained to the ocean. So you will find lot of bays and other things is full of plastics and how to control those things. Then types of plastics, you see, if you say all the bottles may be labeled, if you see, you can find, a layman can find which is the single-use plastic, which is a multiple use. Again, if you see PET, means polyethylene tetraphthalate. This is soft drink bottles, mineral water bottles, fruit juice, containers, cooking oils. So these are that it can commonly recyclables and it can adjust flavors from the food. Then HDP, high density polyethylenes. So it is milk jugs, cleaning agents, laundry detergents, bleaching agents, shampoo bottles. So these are the things. So commonly recycled, safe, no transmissions on the chemicals and food drinks. Again, your polyvinyl chlorides. These are trays for sweet fruits, plastic packing, and bubble foils, and food foils. These are sometimes recyclable but harmful when ingested also. So there is a caution, if it's some milk place, they are packed with all these things. So you will see, don't take it, just throw it. Again, low density polyethylenes, the crushed bottles, shopping bags, highly resistant sacks, and most of the wrappings also. So sometimes recycle but harmful also when ingested. Then polypropylenes, you will find all furnitures, consumers, luggages, toys, as well as the bumper linings of the external borders of the cars. So a lot of materials being used. So these are also occasionally recycled. Again, if it's a polystyrene are there, means again toys, hard packing refrigerator trays, cosmetic bags, consumer jewelries, CD cases, and vending cups. So these are recyclable. So here again, if you see other plastic like acrylic, polycarbonate, polyactins fibers, nylons, and fiberglass. So these are difficult to recycle, means these are single-use plastics. So if you see, there are PP and others, and some are PVC and LDP. So these 4 are concerned to give the global environmental pollutions and lead to the health hazards. So everybody should have aware when you look at the bottles, when you are using in your households, you look in the systems, and if you are convinced, so these type of logos and other things, then you can separate the plastics, keep in 3 different places, which can be recycled, which can be single use, which cannot be thrown, and it should be destroyed in safe manner. So these are the, then again, if you see what is the life cycle of plastics. If you see plastic bags you are using, so that is 20 years. Then coffee cup you are drinking, so that is 30 years. And plastic straw is 200 years. Then six-pack plastic rings, if you see, that is 400 years. Then plastic water bottles, 450 years. And if you look coffee pot, if you see 500 years. Then plastic cup, 450 years. Then if you see that disposable diapers also 500 years. Then plastic toothbrush is 500 years. So these are, that means this much years a plastic materials took to be recycled and degraded. So you see, then how much if you see the every year load it is coming, and the end of the things what will where we stand. Again, if you look into this, these are the, for knowledge sake, these single-use plastics, the chocolate wrappers, or you are taking some of these gift wrappings, or your earbuds, and what you are using, these are the things. These are all single-use, means it is only 47%. The plastics they sold, these are this type, and they are of single-use. Even if you use these, some of these things in your marriage, some of the things, these are mostly dangerous enough. So again, if you look into the things, there is a program is going by Honorable PM Waste to Wealth. So there you can recycle, except single-use plastic. Most of the plastics can be recycled, you see. So there is a different systems. If you graded it, you can collect it, and you can go for different things, and you can recycle it. So this would say 50,000 tons of plastics recycled fiber production per month is happened. 35 number of PET recycling units in India is also. 90,000 tons of raw polystyrene fiber production per month also happening. So during to waste to wealth, these are the things which can be used for mattress also, garments also, or cushions also, and non-woven fabrics also. So those are not single-use plastics. It can be done and recycled, and you can give this type of products that can be happening for you. Then in India, if you see, there are 5 states produce very high level of plastics. If Maharashtra rank 1, it is 469,000 tons plastics. Then followed by Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, and Karnataka, even 129. So these are the 5 leading states, and this produce this much level of plastics. Then how you can go for that way? Then if you see, a mountain of waste, nearly 35 tons collected from 34 beach cleanup programs we are doing by Government of India. So coordinators, there are 26 coordinators, volunteers is around 7,000 volunteers, and litter is 35 tons. If you see, these are the things from starting from Mandivi, from Gujarat to it comes to Digha, West Bengal coast. And these are the coast, if you highest was here, if you see the contribution, and Maharashtra, and this part of this, if you see Puducherry also, you will find the lot of waste because of this waste. This is again a dangerous situation you will find. Again, if you see, if this, how it is in a different coast wise from Mandvi to this, and classifying the different graded of the plastics, if you see 73 of the litters in the Rameswaram comprises of household items. The majority of the Lakshadweep beach waste comes from the fishing activities. So these are the different waste, and these are the 370 kilos, 70 trials of this Gujarat beach were dumped by the tourists. So they have been classified with the bar diagrams, and these are the waste, and these are the different classification across the India you will find. Again, if you see, low-cost floating traps in Chennai to collect this type of plastic waste, and that can be recycled. Again, how it is been aquatic body, it got transferred. If you see, there are 3 processes. If you see, that is degradations, microplastic formation, and mineralizations. Degradations may be happening a biodegradation by plastics, or the hydrolysis, mechanicals, or you may by disintegrations in the, or by solar photo degradations, or by oxidations. That is composed to fragments of the plastics, that is microplastics. Further it degrades to microplastics, again by the different process of oxidation or mineralization by ammonia, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, or water. it goes to the nanoplastics, or it may be oligomers or dimers or monomers. So these are the process of transformation of the microplastics into the aquatic water bodies. Again, then what is a microplastics? This is a polymers that range size from 100 micron to 5 millimeters. So if we'll see, so microplastics is greater than 25 millimeters, and 25 to 5 millimeter is mesoplastics. Microplastics is 5 mm to 1 mm, and the mini micros or nanoplastic is 1 mm to 1 micrometers. So this is the classification of the plastics and how you can study in the different processes and where it comes. If we'll see, I told the general household, so there are two sources of plastics, that is primary microplastics or plastics which enters in the produced by the chemicals and microbial processes. So these are the secondary microplastics if you see, and they are available in this context. Then primary plastics, if you know, that is like your toothpaste we use. So there are primary microplastics is present. Or if you see polyethylene microbeads, if you see some of the face wash creams, it is found in the primary microplastics. Or some of the scrubs that are used, the microbeads, gently, these are the primary microplastic source. And secondary microplastic source that disintegrates to the smaller piece in nature, maybe by different process of oxidations or mineralizations or by photodegradations. Then why to study microplastics? If you know aquatic water bodies from food web systems or the food chain systems, starting from phytoplanktons, zooplanktons, or it comes to the fish or the birds. So this is the way. And what type of damage types? If you see from the, if you benthic organ like polychaete, echinoderms, bivalve, and these are the impaired metabolic and cellular stress response. In fish, the tissue damage happens. Crustacean, mollusk also tissue transfers takes in place. Polychaete, crustacean, bivalves, and respiratory problems. Again, same things is hindering the feeding potentialities. Crustacean, again, it goes to the retarded physiological developments and reproductive competencies. Again, growth rate, behavioral abnormalities, and increased mortality certain times. So for these are the major concerns when the aquatic body is hampered, the growth and other things, we have to study what is the transmission and transport and how much comes to the sediment through mineralizations and other process. Again, how it go for a process is completed. So this is a concern nowadays because later on it may go for human health hazards. Again, if we see what is the world level microplastics, if we see in the different world, I have given in the like a river. If you see the river has been given a colored here. This is the river. Then this is if it's a beach, and this you will be finding some of the marine sediments, and these are the things. So this has been coastal beaches here. If you see Portugal, there are, I have given here 5 river systems, and the level is given. If you see and German, if you see the load is very high, 228 to 3060. And if you see estuary in other places are mostly so much contaminated, and the size range is given from the particle how much per meter square to the smaller size. All has been depicted, and if you see Lake Voksagal, it is very less amount of this is there. So it is depicted how these are the systems in India, other places, how these microplastics are dominated. Again, we have studied in case study in 2 systems in Ganga river systems. If you see the different sites from Kanpur, or if you see some of the Buxar, Patna, Bhagalpur, Navadip, Barakpur, then Godakhali, Rajarganj, we have studied the Bihar and West Bengal portions. Seeing the what are the, you see the plastics and how it comes to the microplastics. So these are the different stretches of the river Ganga, and we have studied and the plastic levels how it is coming to systems. Again, if you see these are the microplastics in the optical microscope pictures of microplastics from the river Ganga. These are the types it comes, and from the large plastics to microplastics. Again, if you see in a quantity wise, weight wise, number wise, So we have classified the microplastics from, if you see Patna is higher, then Frajarganj is also there, and other in Navdeep side is less. And these are the site, and if you see the numbers, if you see 10 to 5 mm, and if 5 mm to 850 nanometers, and 850 nanometers 60 micrometers. So these are the classifications. If you see the microplastics in the river Ganga, also it is there, which drains into the things, and if you see again it drains into the ocean, where if you see again this is a greater load on these systems. Again, if you look into this, how to identify, we have gone for FTIR spectroscopy, and we have classified from polyethylene, polyethylene tetrafluoride, polypropylene, and polysterenes. So these are the microplastics in different size range. Again, if you go to these types from different river stretch with their FTIR studies, and you classify the percentage, and if you see polyethylene, it is going to 30%, and if you go to the polypropylene, and it is also, if you see, that is 19%, then polystyrene is 11%, again if you see polyethylene tetrafluoride with 39%, again others is only 1%. So if you see, this is the degradations and showing the peaks in the different stretches of the river also. Again, we have correlate with the sediment and water parameters. If you see, that are mostly related to in the water with the available phosphorus, BOD, and available nitrogen. Negatively, it is this like total solid, velocity, turbidity, and oxygen. So these are the, with the water, again sediment, if you see microplastics is related to available phosphate, specific conductivity, and negatively. So these are the correlations. So mostly phosphorus content is directly abundance is related with BOD and water, and that microplastic abundance in Ganga in more places with greater aquatic pollution. If the number of microplastic will be more, then you'll find the aquatic pollution. So again, it's one of the thing today, it also affect the livelihood conditions. A fisherman who is going to the fishing, if you get from 10 kilo of materials, how to will find, if you see only around 8 kilos, and from starting from around 2 kilos to 8 kilos is plastic, and rest of the fish. So can you imagine, if you see these people, the fisherman livelihood is now getting affected. So these are the scenario when goes people go for fishing, they only collect the plastics rather than the fish. Again, this is the, again we studied one of these water treatment plants which supply the Kolkata, and we found that these are the in the filter bed, these are the plastics in the drinking water filter beds. Though in the, when filtration takes place, we do not record it, but sometimes with the degradations and again goes to the size degradations, it may come through the drinking water plant also. So the further study is going on this aspect. Again, we all of you know the East Kolkata wetland is the largest Ramsar site, and because of its significant importance, it is used for the sewage as a ingredient for producing the fish. Lot of mineralization process takes place. So due to discharge from lot of city sewage, urban waste, other things, again if your waste from the medical ground and other thing hospitals, lot of things goes to this, and we try to study in these wetlands, and we take the sediment water and fish samples for the study. Then we found this wetland is a huge plastic road in the sediment and water of the feeding canal, which delivers water to the nutrient to the wetlands. Then fish collected from the wetlands were dissected, and plastic particles also found in the gut of the fish. So, and you see how much it is there, and we have a production in Ganga River systems of a paper and newspaper about the East Kolkata wetland, Kolkata Municipal Corporations. So these are the some of these things we do, and you see from this, all of you can imagine what is the burden and load of these microplastics today in the life. So it is emerging pollutants in Indian waters, and it poses a tremendous threat to the aquatic health. and we require more studies and distributions in inland open waters are needed. And for this, because this is a beginning, so we require to make a safeguard and other things. We require more governmental, intergovernmental bodies, NGOs, and public sectors, and corporate social responsibilities. People come forward to support this type of study in the globe, so that there not be any havoc, because you see, all of you know how the pandemic is going and rampantly. Day by day the cases are increasing, that because of environment. So environment is a more concern. Again, the climate change, other things again has a put a burden on all these things. We do not know what will happen future. So we require to safeguard the natural water bodies. As I told, you can have a bottle of waters, but 99% creatures living in around us on rely on these inland open waters. And these as a precious things for us for to save it to this type of pollutions. And this, as you know, the industry is growing, everything is growing, and the uses is also growing day to day from human. So we should have, we cannot say no to plastic, but we can just told recycle and reuse, though, and say no to single-use plastics. So single-use plastic is one important thing which contribute to 47% of the uses of each individuals and every day-to-day life. So at least we should say no to single-use plastics. So it is 3R: reuse, recycle. So this is the so we should all should think and work for the greater importance not to use plastic, single-use plastic in day-to-day life. So this is a so I thought that this may be in the current scenario. This is important. So instead of usual talk on fisheries significance or some of the moleculars, we thought that plastics is a concern. So I delivered this talk. Hope you will be you all of you enjoyed the talk. Thank you. Thanks for the university's people giving the faculty, giving me the opportunity for this type of talk. Thank you again. So I finished my talk. So I may not have taken a lot of time. So if I have taken, please bear with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Das. Thank you, Dr. Das. It is indeed our pleasure that you have given the first talk in this international conference. We have few questions students and the usage of microplastics have affected and whether the economy is affected by this.
You see, freshwater aquaculture and fisheries are two different things, because aquaculture means you are doing in a pond, it is controlled systems. You may not use the plastic materials for that. But inland open systems anywhere, suppose you go for a picnic in a wetland or reservoir dam side, what you dump everything into that thing. So it goes to the bottom of the sediment and gradually over here. We do not know, this process only started for 2-3 years back. The plastic pollution, all these things, but we do not know. Just this we found there are intestine and other things. These are being localized. These two different organs or muscles and come to the human being gradually. So generally, I give a source. Phytoplankton is affected, zooplankton is affected, then fish is being affected. So again, the water sediment water is also being affected. So when it will go, and I told you these are the like respiratory disorders, oxygen breathing problems, everything is linked to the microorganisms. So this is a major concern. It may go for the maybe finally humic means all biota in the living in the aquatic inland aquatic ecosystem, the lake, reservoirs, rivers, oceans that are being affected. Again, the recreational activity, fishing activity level. Suppose you got 10 kilo, 10 kilo net. So out of that, if 8 kilo is coming plastic, 2 kilo is fish, then how much effect is coming your livelihood also. So these are the things is a scenario. Therefore, means your UNEP is running a program for marine litters in Government of India. If you see environmental UNEP program is going on, MOEF is running also. Okay. Anything anybody wanted to ask?
Sir, there is another question from one of the participants, and he is asking what measures have been taken to recycle microplastics and how can we practically prevent microplastic pollution?
You see, plastic. I have told you how much in plant has been extracted. Microplastics cannot be recycled. One thing you see, it is a plastics. Then comes to microplastic, nanoplastic. So this is a plastic recycling. I have given how much years for plastic to all these things. There are so much without means except single-use plastics, other plastics can be recyclable. And different products. I have given one slide from mattress to from starting from mattress, different products can be formed. But single-use plastics cannot be recycled. So that should be collected and disposed safely. That should be the motto of this hour. You cannot say no to plastic because everybody that can be recycled, which was microplastics, government and all should take the stringent actions and laws should be enforced not to produce single-use plastics that is more detrimental to the health.
Thank you. Can facial masks be sources of microplastic pollution?
Yeah, I told now that is in face cream there are small beads are used, so that are also source of microplastics also. Even in toothpaste you are using, some of the microplastics are there also. But we have not studied. Looks like today there are tricoslan other thing that is emerging contaminants are coming, which are used for the face cream other things. So that we do not. It is optimum level. Below that level, if you are using more, it is dangerous to the any system. So we have to study those are the systems that are used in your face creams or the toothpaste. That is a safe level. Beyond that, it is detrimental to the human health.
So, what is the research at the level of molecular level, which is now going on in this area, particularly in the microplastic pollution and its impact on aquatic health?
You see, there is very few organizations. NIO is funded by UNEP, one program only there under program of marine litters. They are just identifying the type of plastics in the environment. First, we do not know in our environment what is the load and type of plastics that are being utilized. Then second thing, we have to classify those microplastics and whether polymers and other things and what is the toxicity levels. Again, what is coming to the genetic damage, DNA damage to the systems. All study is a infant stage. People see all microplastic related study are infant stage. It should be studied because it may not happen like other like organochlorine pesticide, other things once it has come and you have a bioaccumulations and biomagnification properties. So we have to, because this research study is just a beginning, it has not taken so much steps ahead, means it's just maybe the bottom of the ladder. Okay.
Sir, what is the role of SIFRI here? What is the research in SIFRI related to microplastics?
We have studied the research only last 1.5 years. Okay. And we thought that inland open water, SIFRI Central Inland Fisheries Research Institute, will look after the research on the lakes, reservoirs, estuaries, wetlands. So these are the domain of this public. So that these are the things and which plastics are used. What is the load and what is the things? We started only the research is 1.5 year only, and with that, so we started this. They are attracting this like your UNEP, National Productive Councils, and this global community that we are giving this is the focus on microplastics. So all the international community has been well appreciated the work they initiated. We start this work. Therefore, we are focusing this is in the like awareness other things. Again, last week I give a presentation in a Rotary International somewhere because a seventh focus is environment. So they thought that this is a warning. So why not there is some walls to be painted like the microplastics, pollutions and its impacts. The awareness and other things is required among the people. So the research is infant. Sifri has just started the research at its infant state also. Okay, we have started on River Ganga, Kolkata wetlands, and some other things, and maybe next year we can seeking for some fundings to accelerate the research work. Okay, anything more?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Das. No, we stop here, and we are actually honored that you have presented this particular talk, and the participants would have taken note of it, and they would come out with more questions later. Now we have already taken up the questions. Thank you very much, Dr. Das.
Thank you, thank you,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Wait, wait. Akbar, Akbar. A warm welcome to Dr. Akbar John. Sir, are you available with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sir. Let me have a brief introduction of yourself. Dr. John is presently the Associate Professor at Institute of Oceanography and Maritime Studies, INOSEM, International Islamic University, Malaysia. He did his PhD in biotechnology and postdoctoral fellow at Faculty of Science at the same university in Malaysia. Have contributed more than 90 research articles and 2 books. He is the member of IUCN Species Specialist Commission on Horseshoe Crab. He is working on establishing global tissue repository of extant cyphosurans in collaborations with US Geological Survey, NAS Singapore, and Chinese University of Hong Kong. He has secured many national grants and a member for many other national and international grants. Dr. John is editorial board of Journal of Geology, Ecology and Landscapes, Journal of Water Conservation and Management, Nature, Environment and Pollution Technology. His research areas are mainly focused in marine ecology, marine toxicology, and biotechnology and conservation. Dr. John, we heartily welcome you as our international speaker, and you could take the stage and present your slides.
Thank you, Doctor. Maybe if I have to take the stage, then I need to share my screen.
Yes,
Before that, you might have to close your screen, Doctor.
I'm doing that.
Perfect.
You do.
Perfect.
Yes, Dr. John.
Hold on a minute. I'm trying to find it out. Yes. Open. Present view. Window. Here you go. Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible now. It's coming.
Perfect. May I proceed?
Yes, please.
I'm starting my stopwatch so that I will be on time. Thank you for inviting me as a presenter to this international webinar on the various aspects, and there are multiple eminent speakers are presenting as well. I'm feeling honored to be here and give some thoughts on what exactly happens along with the COVID-19 in the wildlife conflict. And special thanks to Prof. Das for inviting me as a speaker as well. Okay, I have about 35 minutes time, so I have to make sure that you bring with you few informations. This is the second slide if it is visible to you. If not, please interrupt me at any time. Uh, what I will address in this presentation is how COVID-19 impacted on wildlife human interactions, mode of transmission, and the
Dr.
ambiguity.
John,
Yes,
can you hear me?
yeah,
Can you be a bit louder, sir?
I'm so sorry. Is it audible now?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, you can continue, sir.
Thank you. If my voice is very much audible, I will be addressing some issues. There are five issues that I will be addressing. Number one is on how COVID-19 impacted on the wildlife-human interactions, mode of transmission, and the ambiguity related to the COVID-19s and wildlife conflict, the governmental strategies to curb the disease transmission, in relation to the wildlife conflict, and the market demand and the way forward. Okay, in the way forward, I'll be addressing few issues related to the guidelines given by the traffic and the CITES. Is it audible? Before I move on.
It's audible.
Perfect. Okay, let me move on to the next slide, where you can see a lot of wildlife animals. Usually you can find it in the streets. The number one is the last week information, where you can see the first figure, black panther, that was found in one of the university campus in Malaysia last week. The second figure that you can see is the otters, that you can find it in the Singapore streets. We all know that the otters are very shy and they do not come to the places where human activities are so high. Usually we can find it near the aquaculture ponds and all that, but now they are walking very freely in the Singapore street. The third figure that you can see is the monkeys in the large numbers in the streets of Thailand. And the fourth one that you see, the leopard, it's from India, just 40 kilometers away from the Agra, where they found it during the close lockdown period. Still in India, I think the lockdown is keep continuing, but here in Malaysia, at least there is a relaxation regarding the COVID cases, because the cases have gone down substantially. So what I wanted to say out of this slide is that the COVID-19 has brought down different issues. Number one is in relation to the wildlife itself. There are two different possibilities. Number one, either they feel comfortable to come to the streets. I mean, the animals which are wild in nature, they feel comfortable to come to the street, even though we are very far where we are establishing our houses and activities, or we are encroaching their natural habitat. There are only two possibilities. What everyone will agree is that because of the population growth in the world and the need for many natural resources, humans keep on encroaching into the wildlife area, which are considered to be the natural grounds for these wildlife animals. So automatically, they do not have any space, or they come into the streets where human can have their own activities and all that. So this is one issues pertaining to the wildlife itself in relation to the COVID-19. The other issue that you can see, there are three figures here. The figure number one is from the China in 2003. There are over 31 tigers, 581 leopards, and 778 otters are completely stripped off, and the skins are being exported to the other market, to the world market, just for the purpose of illegal trading. This is all illegal traded and stuffs which were caught by the police in China. The second figure that you can see is the seahorses. Those seahorses are bycatch product or non-targeted fishery in many of the ASEAN countries, not Asian countries, ASEAN countries. Uh, Still, the Hong Kong being identified to be the hub point where thousands and thousands of seahorses are completely tried for the medical purpose. I mean, the Chinese medical valued seahorses. The third figure that you can see, a pangolin. Pangolin is one of the most highly traded, illegally traded wildlife primate other than any other animal. More than 900,000 pangolins are exported illegally or cross-border traded during the last 1 decade. So these are the situations because of the virus is very small, but it is being transmitted through the wildlife animal itself. So pangolin is identified or believed to be the second host or the intermediate host for this animal. So this is another scenario where wildlife trade is one of the major reason why all the three um, epidemics of two, which is SARS as well as MERS, while the pandemic of this SARS-CoV-2 has emerged. And all these things are revolving around one single figure, which is modified by from the Muhammad et al. 2020, when the coronavirus was identified in the bats, which is horseshoe bats. The sequence is called RAG13, which is the first primary host for the animal for the virus itself. So it is believed that there are multiple intermediate hosts. Number one that they predict is the pangolin, because this is one of the most commonly exported animal, illegally exported animal within the Asian country as well as to the other market in the West. There are other animals also identified to be the intermediate host or believed to be intermediate host, like cats as well as the snakes and all that. The pythons are the intermediate host also. They identify intermediate host because they isolate the virus from intermediate host as well as the bats, which are the primary hosts, and then they compare it. Once one leads to 96% similarity at the genome level, then they claim that it might be an intermediate host. Up until now, we do not know what exactly the intermediate host is all about. But the mode of transmission, of course, SARS virus into the human being is through the activation of ACE2 receptor gene. When this receptor molecules are in contact with the outer structure of the SARS-CoV gene, automatically the viral protein as well as the nucleic acid enter into the cytoplasmic area of the human cell itself. So once the humans is exposed to this virus, automatically it's being transmitted, and the therapeutic strategies are totally different, because initially they said the chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine can be the best choice, and then the Trump came up and he bought almost all the stocks, and finally the WHO come out with the strategy, with the guidelines. They said, oh, maybe the chloroquine will not work that much. Then they go with the remdesivir, and now the remdesivir is not that much working. They go with another two more uh, vaccines or the possible cure for the therapeutic purposes. But whatever it is, all rely on the identification and the quantification of the gene itself. in terms of identifying whether the person is infected or not. This figure that I included, if you can see the RT-PCR figure, here about 64 COVID samples were tested by a university, UCA, University College London. We sent the samples to them and then they analyzed it. Here, you will not believe that the positive sample identified to be the negative sample. So the false positive results are very common in identifying the COVID virus up until now. And if you come across the publications, there are dozens of publications on COVID. The systematic approach to access the potential and the risk of wildlife culling in infection disease control is also there in the communication biology. There are many papers which also addresses the pangolin may be the intermediate host, and the scientific call for the pandemic investigation is to focus on wildlife trade. While working on the virus itself, we are working on the wildlife in the other direction that has to be targeted, because wildlife animal, especially from the China in general case, when they are not only selling the wildlife product exported or imported from Vietnam and Laos, they also culture the exotic animals. So they have the culture system where they keep the bear and many other wildlife animals. Then they captive breed it and they keep producing a new one to sell it in the market. There are studies which says that more than 16 million people, 6 million people are involved in this kind of activities. More than $1 billion industry is working on this. So once they culture it, these bats, which is the horseshoe bats, they come and feed on the captive animals or the exotic dishes, then automatically the viral spillover keep increasing, and these captive animals, when they are exported to the other countries through two different pathways, one is Malaysia as well as another one is Hong Kong, so automatically the spillover is extremely high. That is the reason why 3 out of 4 emerging infectious diseases in humans are transmitted through animals. More than 75% of the infectious diseases emerging in the human history is within this last 1 century. And emerging infectious diseases are fourfold more frequent in 2000 than in 1940. So China came out with a new strategy to curb the COVID-19 at the initial stage before it entered India even. They started proposing the China farmers will be offered with a cash price if they give up the wildlife trade or they leave the culturing system. That's why in February 2020, China Parliament they enacted a law that wildlife animals should not be exported for any reason, for any cause or something. That's why since February 2020, it has been stopped legally, but illegally it is keep continuing, and there is no stop. Even last 2 weeks before, there was a 300 pangolins were caught in Malaysian airport. And these are the other aspects of the wildlife trade itself. The animals worth more than 1.6 billion yuan are being captively bred in China, and revenue from the breeding reaches 10 billion yuan, which is more than like 200, sorry, 2,500 million dollars. So 6.3 million people involving $18 billion industry, which is the farming industry in China. Legally alone, 10 billion euros are estimated to be the legal wildlife trade in EU alone, European Union, while more than 23 billion dollars are estimated by United Nations as an illegal wildlife trade. You will come across it. The reason why this is keep increasing in the few slides to come, and this is how they're maintaining it at Guangxi, China, where the Wuhan, China, where the first figure represents how they maintain the animal. So you can imagine how the spillover of the virus can be increased. That's why Prof. Bart from University of Cambridge, he mentioned that the knowledge on the susceptibility of different species and potential routes of transmission between animals could give a clue about the likely candidate host and intermediate host in China. But before the Cambridge University establishes its research center in China, what happened? Then the BART proposed a specific research center to identify what exactly the intermediate species. Before it is established, most of the captive bred exotic animals in China, because of the lockdown, because it's not like a lockdown in India or in other country. China lockdown is so strict and so stringent, so most of the animal died. So that is also to be considered. So possible intermediate hosts, as I mentioned, that the hamsters, snakes, and the ferrets, and even the monkeys are considered to be the possible intermediate host. So this is why the spillover is very high when we have wildlife conflict, especially the culturing of wildlife animals. And you can find it out from the traffic websites. Most commonly traded animals like a bear and the ivory. Ivory just 100 grams more than like 400 US dollars. So if someone has get caught during the process of illegal trading of any of the wildlife animal, so the highest punishment in the world is about 100,000 dollars. I'm sorry, it's not 100,000, it's $10,000 of compensation plus 15 years jail. The other places, like for example Malaysia, it's 50,000 ringgit, which is like 10 lakhs rupees plus few years of jail, imprisonation. So it keep varying from one place to other. Another one more problem, for example in Malaysia, is we have two different law. One is a Peninsular Malaysia, we have a wildlife protection law, and the East Malaysia, Sabah Sarawak, which is called a Borneo, which is including the Indonesia. They have the animal which are listed protected in Sabah Sarawak, which is Borneo area, might not be there in the Peninsular Wildlife Protected Act. So there is no standardization, which leads to the wildlife trade in the larger number in this kind of ASEAN countries in general. So most big problem is the zoonosis and the zooanthroponosis, which is again called as a reverse zoonosis. More according to the WHO, zoonotic diseases, the diseases that are transmitted from animal to human, so are listed, while reverse zoonosis are also identified in the literature, where the human influenza virus were frequently isolated from the pigs, and the respiratory disease caused by the human metapneumovirus was identified, has killed the chimpanzees in the Chicago Zoo. So both the cases are automatically through the wildlife animals rather than the virus or the mutation itself. Once the virus emerge, they keep mutating because this is the retrovirus RNA base. They have a high environmental adaptations and high mutation rate that leads to more resistant strains. And there are three different strains that can be found in general. We always worry about the coronavirus because COVID 19 has caused a tremendous damage to the world. Whether you like it or not, in your life, in my life, it has caused a lot of damage as well. In one way or other, especially through the governmental procedures and all that. There are more than 7 different varieties of COVID virus, while 229E0C, sorry, OC43 and HKU1 are the most common COVID virus, which we may be exposed to it very often. But we it causes only simple respiratory problems, and it's maybe the sneezing or the runny nose. That's it. While these three viruses, three strains, which is emerging straight from the beta coronavirus, which is SARS-CoV, MERS, as well as the SARS-CoV-2, has caused a tremendous damage, and it is believed that it has been increased fourfold, as I mentioned earlier, fourfold increase in the virulency, as well as the SARS-CoV-2 is 10 times more deadly than the 2019 H1N1 or the 2002 SARS virus. But they identify this virulency based on the number of mortality. So it is, I do not personally agree with this, because the number of mortality varies from species to species. So it cannot be identified, it cannot be said, it cannot be more virulent than that one, but it causes more 10 times more damage than the SARS-CoV, which is the SARS virus, which is agreeable. And there are three different strains, as I mentioned, type A, B, C, where the closest coronavirus that are found in the pangolins as well as the bats. The second one is derived from the type A, which has a two via two mutations. Mutations are slowly in China, rapidly outside the China, of course. And the third one, which is the daughter of the type B virus, which can be isolated from the samples from Europe and Singapore, because Singapore is the trading hub for or Singapore and the Hong Kong is the trading hub for both Europe as well as the Asian countries. So Singapore is having high number of cases up until now. And the other dimension of the wildlife trading, if you happen to see, it is about the movement of the animal itself, wildlife animal itself. The reason for the MERS that causes more than 8,000 mortality cases in 2012, 2,000 mortality cases in 2012, caused by the transportation of the camel itself. So this is so epidemic within only 27 countries. So it is revolving around the Arabian Peninsula or the African countries in Northwest African countries, Northeast African countries, while the other SARS has caused more than 774 deaths, 8,000 people were infected, where during the 2002 and 2003 outbreak, during that time, this is again through the bats, the same species of bats were responsible for it, and we identified and demonstrated it based on the transportation route where this our animal can be uh, globally exposed because of the trading purposes. And this paper is still under the review. And the market value, as I mentioned, the normal beef that usually people eat is about $1 per 100 gram, but the goal is $4,800 per 100 gram. When you look at the pangolin scales or the rhino horn or the elephant ivory, it's about $700 in per 100 grams. The figure that I showed you earlier, you can imagine grams of elephant ivory being illegal. So if someone get through this one trading, so automatically they can even pay 10,000 US dollars as ransom to escape from the laws and all that. So the market value drive the wildlife trade in the excessive way, especially the illegal wildlife trade. And this is the complete route according to the traffic system, the traffic which proposed that most of the route is basically through the land as well as the the airports. That's why in most of the case, the port and as airports are the major hub point where they keep paying the money or bribery or something. So automatically, this has been allowed to pass through. That's why when you come across the Singapore airport as well as Hong Kong airport, main airport, where you can find out list of animals which are presented in the south, which are showcased, saying that if you keep any part of this animal, you will be under law in general. I mean, you will be punished. So this is how the trading system works. So this is the complete trading system where international transit and the consumer supply as well as the source country keep varying. But in general case in Asia, if I have to say that the China being the major uh, wildlife trade point where I mean, the wildlife animals from the Laos, Vietnam are exported to China either for the local delicacy or those animals are exported through other countries through airport routes. And the way forward that I mentioned, that the supply chain break is the only way to possibly reduce the illegal wildlife trade. Supply chain break actually happens in two different areas. Number one is the airport. Number two is the port itself. These are the measures that are proposed by the traffic people and as well as the CITES people. And implementing proposed by the Oxford Martin School is one of the other way to reduce the illegal wildlife trade, while the cooperation with other biodiversity related conservation agencies like conservation of biological diversity and many more is the most possible way to reduce the wildlife trade. Break break rapidly expanding networks of the China trade routes. Okay, in Asia, China is the most major part where wildlife trade is quite common. In the African countries, they have another system called um, Africa's Economics Growth Forum, where all the African countries are united. That's why the bush meat, any wildlife animal which are caught in one African country can be the route through the roadway from one African country to the other African country that includes the human itself. Understanding the misinformation in the policy and practice. For example, when the government implement a new policy that come out with some research backgrounds, right? So sometimes it, for example, less number of sample size and stuff like that, that leads to the wrong policy making practices among the government itself. So whatever it is, there are more than 25,000 animals are identified to be the red listed, vulnerable as well as the endangered species. So possible prediction of wildlife trade is quite difficult, but by reducing the supply chain or the supply chain itself and reduce the mind, I mean, to develop the mindset among the consumers, whereby we can reduce the number of wildlife traded animal is the highly possible way, and the government has to work on those information. Up until now, Malaysian government is, of course, working on these aspects. With this, I would like to end up my talk by saying that previously they used to transport the cup, the tiger cup with the milk bottle in the suitcase. Now they are transporting the small microbial organisms in the suitcase itself through the airport means. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. John. Very happy to hear very topical talk you have given today. We have questions, very few questions here till now with me from some of the participants. I think Diptikant Acha, how much is the risk of reinfection of COVID?
Reinfection of the COVID by the same person, is it? I think the question.
The COVID-19, the virus.
The reinfection of COVID to the same person or the reemergence of the second wave?
No, no, same person.
Actually, there is a one paper which is published that within 3 months after someone is exposed to the COVID virus, the antibody production completely stops. Even the antibody level in the human blood will go down after date of infection, from the date of infection. So the chances of someone being reinfected is very high, but up until now, very few cases were reported. Even in Malaysia, there are only 2 cases of re-emergence of the virus in the person. But to be honest, there is no much data on this issue because we are handling the new virus just like the new microplastic issues. So there are more studies to be coming out. That's why initially, as if I have to say this one, like when the WHO, sorry, WHO proposed the measures, they initially said 2 meters distance is the best social distancing. Then they come out with 1 meter distance. Now they increase to few meter distance if you are going for a jogging. So the procedures or the SOPs, standard operating procedures proposed by the WHO itself keep varying. So We will come to know it only when the results are coming. We will come to know it only when the results are coming up. Thank you.
What is the chance that the virus would become a seasonal virus soon? Any suggestion?
To be honest, I personally do not know, and based on my reading, uh, there are papers which says that it is not going to be the only one pandemic. There are more pandemics to come. So whether it is going to be the seasonal virus or we are going to have the herd immunity, or we really do not know. We will come to know it only when the time comes, because WHO itself is not very clear about this one. Even yesterday, there was a paper published in Nature. They just did studies of differential drugs on the cell lines. There are more than 12 uh, in the cell culture media. They cultured more than 12,000 the cells of the human being and exposed more than 12,000 drugs onto it, and they checked it. So we are up until now at the cell level, not even to the human level. Thank you.
Yeah, there is one more question from Rajiv Lenka. Can wildlife be affected by COVID-19?
For
And
sure.
just to continue that particular question, there is another question from Bindu Padhi who's asked, will human COVID vaccines be compatible for wildlife?
Yes, this is the other question, whether we can use the same vaccine for the animal as well as the human itself, or
Yes, yes.
intermediate host. Number two is whether the question is whether the COVID-19 will impact the wildlife trade. Of course, to my understanding, the wildlife rate has gone down substantially during the supply chain break system or the implementation by the China itself to stop the wildlife trade market. So it has substantially reduced for the past 7 months. Already it has reduced substantially. But whether it is going to continue or not, because we do not know, because the consumers they are in need of different wildlife products. So unless and until the government come out with the remedial measures to curb or to continue the stopping of this wildlife trade, it's going to continue in future as well. Number two, the question is whether we can use the same vaccine for both animal and human. We
Yes.
cannot use it because the action mechanism is completely different from human as well as the animal. Which animal are you going to test? Are you going to test the pangolin? Pangolin is okay because they are going to have the virus, they are not going to affect it. They are the hosts, they are not infected. Only humans are infected. I think it's very clear answer.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So it's our honor that you have presented us with some insights on COVID-19, particularly wildlife trade. And we are happy that you were here. Of course, Professor Vishnu Prasad Das is a close collaborator of yourself. So we would like to, as a department, would like to work with you in future in certain areas of our common interest very soon. So let us
Thank you.
be in collaboration. Thank you
Uh,
very much, sir.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
sir. And Prof. Das as well as Siddharth Bharti is one of our collaborator as well. And we are very much welcome a lot of collaboration in your future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So for all the participants, this announcement again, we have the next session starting at 2 p.m. So we have a there is a new link. So you have to join us with the new link at 2 p.m. And we will have two speakers in the afternoon session today. And we are really sorry that in the beginning hear our voice. There was some problem with the broadcasting services what we were offering you. So please join us at 2 p.m. Have a good lunch.